You know, it's just weird. It shows that they don't really care as much. It says a lot by their lack of fixing it. You know. When was this? This was 11 hours ago, so this was very recent. Okay.
This was the best game you'd played since Global Offensive, right? And anyone who
a lot of people have
loves
said this,
Global Offensive as their number one, you got a lot of love and hate for that. Like, what the hell is this guy talking about? So let's preface that. How much time did you get with the game, and why do you feel that way generally, that it is the next best game you played, so to speak?
So let me start by addressing that kind of sensational comment I made towards the end of those tweets. There is a reason I made that tweet. Obviously, it's a bit of hyperbole, I suppose. I haven't played the game.
You gotta think that he spent a lot of time putting these tweets together
6
too.
6 hours
so.
playtime total
I
against
assume.
players that aren't very good and didn't have.
Because like if you're under NDA, then you got to think about the things that you're gonna say, so you're not exposing too much. So I bet that like in these statements, he spent a lot of time figuring out exactly what he wanted to say.
Actually play the game themselves, but it felt like to me it was the first time it's going to be a Counter-Strike challenger. You know, it's the first time we're going to see a game actually step up that's looking to take some of the market share away from Counter-Strike.
There's no other tactical shooter right now that even compares to Counter-Strike. Like the Rainbow Six is very different in the way that it's played. I'm trying to think of other games that I really compare. Like Call of Duty is not a tactical shooter really at all. There's just not really another game that plays quite like Counter-Strike.
Games have ever been able to do that. And no games I've thought, well, this could actually be a real rival.
Rainbow Six is like the closest.
It just felt like Valorant was the first game that's knocking on our front door. And the reason I made that tweet was,
I guess there's Crossfire, but like particularly in like the US and stuff.
I want Valve to know now, before it's too late, that there's a game that's coming and they're kind of already implementing all the ideas we want within CSGO when it's a brand new game that's pretty fucking polished as it is. And I'm more worried for CS than I am thinking, oh, this is a brilliant game, I'm moving on. I want Valve to realize that this is a big deal.
That's so cool. So it sounds like what he's saying right there is that he specifically said that it is the best game that he's played since Counter-Strike because it was a really good freaking game, and he wants Valve to wake up. Basically, is what I'm gathering here. The idea of, hey, this game is amazing, and if you guys want your game to like survive, like, you need to pay attention to this. Like don't be blindsided by this.
They need to step their game up.
Okay, so this was almost kind of a subliminal message, if you will, to the boys.
A little bit, yeah.
At Valve.
It's even cooler too that he said he doesn't want, and anybody with a mind too, they don't want Counter-Strike to be killed by this. Competition is good. We don't want this tactical shooter to like blow it out of the water completely. We want both these games to be really good. That's a good thing.
Like,
this competition is good.
I don't know about you, but like I've never really had any sort of meeting with Valve. I've been working with the game since its very first alpha in 2011. Like I was one of the first people to ever play CSGO in its worst possible form. Like when I played the alpha of that game, it was terrible. It was rough. So I was one of the few English-speaking players actually there. So I kind of led the meetings, and I kind of thought, we've got all the notes, we've given all our feedback, and do you know how much they listened to it? Like absolute zero.
That's really interesting too, because he's saying that the CS people, when they gave him notes, it didn't feel like they were listening to him. And at Riot, they specifically said that they were like writing things down when they were giving them feedback, and that like it seemed like the devs were very attentive. Even in the community, the Riot devs have been very involved with it. The devs participate in the Discord, and they participate in conversations and stuff. Even some of the devs have joined my Discord. Like that's really crazy.
I'm very worried that Valve's philosophy and also almost the stubbornness, it's going to cost them some market share. But it seems that they're very easy solutions to fix right now within CS. Like I'm not a huge Valorant champion right now. I think it's a cool game, and I'm ready for it to play it. I'm looking forward to seeing it. But overall, I want CSGO to be ready when this game comes out, and they need to kind of pull their socks up.
I think it was I don't know why I'm reminded of this right now. I think there was the Hearthstone player Reynad. I think it was Reynad, right? The owner of Tempo Storm. Is that Reynad? And he had like a similar take with like Blizzard and Hearthstone, where it wasn't absolutely the exact same thing. But I remember hearing a talk of him talking about how he was giving so much feedback to the devs for Hearthstone, and he was like, "You need to change this. Like, this is the problem with the game. If you did this, it would be different." And like they didn't listen to the community and stuff. And like eventually, Hearthstone just kind of died down a little bit. Where it's like I think it's still relevant nowadays, but I don't think it's nearly as relevant as Magic or like ever will be again. I don't think Hearthstone's gonna get like a second wind at this point. I think Reynad even went on to create his own game. I think he's working on his own card game right now or something, which is like really interesting. Where it's like the people who are at the head of your community, people who are playing it professionally are gonna give you feedback, and you could choose to listen or you could choose not to. And it seems weird for like these people who are the best at the game. Maybe you should listen to them sometimes. I don't really know. Not all the time, but
Yeah,
sometimes.
and that's a really valid point. Like again,
Sure.
so I think your point is valid. Like this is definitely a challenger in some regards. With Sal's there, right? Volcano is knee deep in this thing.
Yes.
Some of the stuff, the buy rounds, any character can use any gun at any time. There is an economy. That is straight ripped from our world, man, you know?
They've ripped a lot of things from the game too, and we talked about this earlier. There's a lot of like aspects of Rainbow Six. There's a lot of aspects of even Quake. There's aspects of Counter-Strike. It's all over the place, even Overwatch and stuff. Like they take a lot from every single different game. It seems like they want something for each player to be excited about. Even League players, like people coming over to this game, they want something that they can feel familiar and like at home with. It seems like.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had the same matchmaking system since the game's inaugural release, and that's something I just don't understand. Like, how have we not evolved that system so we can actually just keep players within the actual matchmaking system that's built to the game instead of having to go to third-party platforms? And I just think that's just not good enough anymore. How are we justifying they've got to spend £10 a month externally to get a good competitive experience?
That's such a good point. Where it's like in the past when there was no competitor to CSGO, being able to like play on ESEA or Face it felt like, like whatever, like it's just like what you do. But the fact that Riot is coming out with 128 tick servers, which is like nearly double what Counter-Strike has right now, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. That's nearly double, right? It's the idea of like, why do we have to do this without like if Riot can just come out and do that, why do we have to go through a third party? And it just kind of says that Valve realized that they can make like there's no other option. You don't have another option of the game. It's like, okay, well, if you want to play Counter-Strike, you go to Face it. Like you still play it. Whereas like, okay, if we're gonna have 64 tick on CS, then let's just go play Valorant. It's just weird. It shows that they don't really care as much. It says a lot by their lack of fixing it. I just wish I could see the ELO in CSGO. That's another thing. Why haven't they added that yet? If there's like a very specific reason why I shouldn't know how close I am to ranking up, then like maybe. But it just seems like really outdated. Like I don't really know. It doesn't seem like anybody benefits from me not knowing when I'm gonna rank up. The numbers are going up because of Valorant though. Not 100%. I think the numbers are going up because of some of the changes that they made. They added like all the new skins and stuff like that. They're trying to appeal to a broader audience, it feels like. But it seems like the first step that you would take with that is like little things like that, where it's like, just let me see my rank. Like little quality of life stuff. Let me see my rank. Make it so your client doesn't double my mic volume every single time I open it. Why does it do that? It's just clunky. The client is out of date. The game feels old. It feels really old right now. Make it appeal to like newer players. Take a chunk of it. Valorant wants CSGO, but it could have the same effect that Fortnite had on PUBG. Yeah,
that's been fun to watch. People put it in their head, or Valorant Pro looking for a team. It's like, what the fuck?
I can't believe what's wrong with us in esports right now. We can't just seem to even discuss things in shades of grey anymore. You're either one or the other. You either hate or love something. There's no in between, whether it's a league, a game, a commentator, a player. Like there's no middling conversation. It's always love or hate. I just don't understand it. Like people who haven't even played the game, as you mentioned in your intro, are coming out and saying this resurrection stuff, it's overpowered. It's like it's the game's doomed. It's all done for, and they've just seen like a screenshot.
That's why every take that I have on this game, by the way, I say I don't know. I trust Riot. Like people are saying that this busted. It sounds busted, but I like it'll probably be fine. Like it'll probably. Be fine.
I get it. Like I even tweeted out saying I don't like the idea of resurrection, but
that's on my list.
Down and calm down first.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. I don't know if you played with Sage at all or got a chance to play against Sage.
It was my main. Is
that a hard cooldown? Does that take a long time to even use that ability, or is that maybe OP?
So it's definitely a nuanced conversation here. So from what I can gather, you can see the resurrection at the bottom of your screen there. This is the big controversial talking point. So you get an ultimate that builds up.
Yo, mathematically though, I was thinking about it. Like I believe the people who played it, obviously, like more than myself. But it seems like, okay, you need 6 kills. A lot of people in Counter-Strike rack up like 30 kills a game, right? So it seems like once per half. I guess you got to keep in mind there's more rounds in CS. So you can have up to 24 rounds in this game. You can have up to 30 in the other game. So that's 6 extra rounds. So you're getting like 2 kills a round though. Like even 2 kills a round, what? That's you should be ulting you should be ulting like twice a half. So it seems like 4 times a game. Bomb plants and diffuses also count, plus the orbs. Yeah, it seems like you're going to be ulting a little bit more than like once a half, but I don't know. Like the math just doesn't add up to me, unless you're like playing like trash. But maybe I don't know.
Res just one player. Bear in mind, it's not like a mercy thing where all 5 players come back to life and the whole team's back. This is one player, and if you're playing a high-level competitive game, you're not going to be wasting it in a silly situation in an anti-eco, for example. You're saving it for the key one-on-one clutch, where this could actually be the difference maker, and you're going to destroy the economy of the opposition. This is like one time per half, like do or die moment, all in, and it's not like you're getting it every single round. So I think people need to definitely chill out about that whole situation.
Yeah, what is, help me out, what is that like glowing wall that's like two-tone color? What is that purpose for that?
So that is one of the ultimate abilities, I believe, of the character, which a name escapes me. This, you have to bear in mind, I played the game mainly for the gun mechanics. When I was there, I didn't sit down and get to play every single character. We had one play day. That is an ultimate one character. It's a green wall that you can get inside that wall. And you're healing once you're inside there. You're taking you get HP back.
That's misleading. That's not an ultimate for her. That's her signature ability. So that is the Viper wall. She can place that every single round.
And the opposition will lose their health as well.
Oh,
and okay. that's about it. So it's like an incendiary, I would say, that blocks vision. And
I'm assuming that's what he's talking about right here. Let's rewind it.
Every single character, we had one play day, and the opposition will lose their health as well.
Oh,
and
that's the Viper
so it's
wall.
like
that's the Viper wall. It's not
actually I would say that blocks vision. And the
wait, no, okay, never mind. So that actually, like, I don't think that is the Viper wall because it's used twice here, right?
You get HP back.
Unless that's the ally Viper wall.
It's a green wall that you can get inside that wall.
So this either could be the Viper wall or the enemy Phoenix wall, but I don't think it's the Phoenix wall either, unless it looks exactly the same, because it's used just a second later
and
here.
You're healing once you're inside there. You're taking you get HP back, and
the other team has a Viper too, yeah, but there's not a Viper on this site. Is the problem? There's a Phoenix and there's a Sova.
The opposition will lose their health as well.
And there's a wall used right here.
That's about it. So it's like an incendiary, I would say, that blocks vision. And the X-rays.
Oh, I bet the wall looks like it actually went through all the way.
Within that as well is like.
It looks like it went that all the way through there.
What you are, the Hanzo arrow that gives you a little bit of vision for a couple of seconds.
Yep.
So I don't think that video is the best sequence for Riot to release, because that actually shows 2 sequences of that green slime wall, an X-ray Hanzo arrow going in. I think it actually makes the whole thing look a little bit silly. That wasn't my experience of the game at all. I didn't really have any.
It definitely makes it look a little more Overwatchy in that sense of all that stuff happening at the same time. So speaking of that's also something that came.
That's really interesting and an important take right there too. He just said with the wall and like this round that was shown here, it wasn't his experience with the game at all. He did playtest the game before this, I'm pretty sure. So that's also another thing to keep in mind. Maybe it did change a little bit, but at least when he played it, he said that it wasn't really like this. You know?
Again, Counter-Strike.
The abilities weren't that big of a
going, oh wait,
deal.
there's a wall hack now in the game. Right? Again, much like Hanzo's, right? Like that's OP, that's stupid, that has no place in a tactical shooter.
I don't think it's as OP as it looks. Like I remember the guys firing it off, and it shows you like 2 seconds of info, and it's delayed as far as I'm aware. Like it doesn't show you exactly where they are. It's like there was a caveat that came with it. But
I think they tried to show what you can do. I agree. I think that they specifically chose an overloaded round so they could show people like, hey, this game is really intense sometimes. Something to keep in mind here is that he said that it looked a little goofy with like the vision and stuff like that through the wall. He says that it's delayed though. It's not 100% the same. He also said that once you lock in a character, you're locked them in for the half. I heard from some other people that you have the character for the full game. You might just have him for the half. I'm not 100% sure which is true. I've heard both things.
Either way, it wasn't like a problem where it felt like, wow, this guy keeps dropping that arrow and we're dying every round. It's the game and the maps are designed to kind of counter that and make sure you have cover.
Got you.
You can buy yourself armor, and armor doesn't necessarily provide you anything more than extra HP. Your baseline HP is 100. If you get light armor or Kevlar for a comparison within CSGO, that gives you 125 health, I believe. Then if you get the armor helmet, you get 150 health. There is no benefit to having the helmet and Kevlar in terms of the aim punch, as far as I'm aware. I might be off the mark there, but that's, from what I can recall, that's the it's more of an HP boost at the start to enable you to be a little bit stronger, meaning you could survive a scout shot, for example, if you have light armor, because it's kind of armor doesn't really make sense in CSGO in general. Like it's such a weird thing. Like, why do we have even a number on armor within CSGO. It doesn't really do
Yeah.
anything, right? You could have 20 armor and still be fine. So I think that's just why that number doesn't make sense. It just gives you more HP generally.
Got you. Okay.
And
So he's talking about armor and stuff right here. I had conflicting stuff as well. I said earlier, somebody told me that armor works like a sponge, where like you take damage and like some of the damage goes to your armor, kind of like in CS:GO. I don't 100% know if that's true. It sounds like what HenryG is saying is that armor gives you more HP. So like if you have helmet armor, it'll give you 150 HP. But we also know that we're pretty sure that AK one-shots to the head still. So I'm not sure if the AK is doing 150 damage. I'm not 100% sure in that regard. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it'll take 2 hits. So we'll have to wait and see on that. He says he doesn't recall there being aim punch. That might have been something that was added afterwards, or like it might have been something that was kind of worked on without armor. Aim punch is kind of annoying. I don't really like how so that's like a big thing in Counter-Strike. If you don't buy armor, aim punch is one of the worst things that you're gonna encounter. Like obviously you'll die in one hit if you don't have a helmet, but like if you don't have armor specifically, that's why you buy a pistol round, is because you get shot, and like the aim punch is pretty bad. You also buy it because like USPSs don't do that much damage, obviously, if you don't hit them in the head. But I think it's primarily for the aim punch. What I heard is that when you're shot, it'll do like, say if you take 10 damage from a bullet, it'll do like 7 to like your player and 3 to the armor or something.
I think that's pretty.
That's what I've heard.
It's pretty much Counter-Strike, but it looks different in terms of the economy. That's regarding the guns.
For the record, I haven't played this. Like, I'm not saying this to be like HenryG is an idiot and I disagree with him. I'm saying this because like I've heard conflicting stories. It sounds like HenryG hasn't played the game in a long time. He played the first playtest, but like he didn't know characters' names. He was mistaken on the wall being her ultimate. Apparently, it's her signature ability. Like, I don't know. It sounds like some of the info is a little dated.
And then
he could be entirely right too. My other source could also be inaccurate. I'm just saying, like, I'm hearing different things. So
speaking on the economy, does that mean you kind of start in that pistol round, like you don't have a lot of money, you start the game light?
Exactly.
Okay.
So you could aim to go for a couple bits of utility. The other character I played the most was called Phoenix. So he would be like what I call an entry fragger character. So he's got this ability called Curveball, which is very similar to a flashbang, I would say, in terms of you can throw a flashbang, but it's not like you can just like pull the pin and choose where it goes. The curveball is you can Q and E, which are your curveball keys, and they're able to throw out flashbangs that go directly around a corner, like in a hook-like manner. So you run up to a choke point, you can deploy a curveball, which is like a...
That's interesting.
It goes around like a
so you like
hook,
stand...
direct 180 into the bomb site. That flashbang goes off, and that's like, that could be your one eco setup. You have Phoenix going in first with the flashbang. He then swings in with his revolver, goes to the 1D, and everyone kind of snowballs onto the bomb site. So
if somebody's sitting right around a corner and you're playing Phoenix, you can actually go to the other side of that corner, curveball it around, and then like blind them immediately. Like that's actually nuts.
Definitely buy some basic utility with the right characters, some upgraded pistols, maybe one rifle, and it's more like an execution in that sense. So that's why I compare it to utility, because yes, you can have low buy rounds, but still win off clever play with the abilities, not even the ultimates. I think that they're certainly aiming towards a level you can pick and ban, and for me, that's where Overwatch just dropped the ball completely. Like the fact you can't actually ban characters, and they refuse to let that be a thing, and everyone's just replicating it, setups and stuff. Like you've left no real ceiling there in terms of being able to deny the strengths of a really solid meta. Like, and everyone's going to be running the same thing. Like it really ruins the entire premise of a class-based game, I think. So I really hope they do, at least. And knowing the smart people that are involved in it, like with reference Volcano, I think there will be.
Sub Sandcast, by the way. Sorry, I was just letting him finish the thought. Like the picks and bans, I think is pretty necessary. It's gonna be kind of scary when you have only like 8 characters, though. It seems like you can only like really ban 1 character from the game, right? Bans are really important in a class-based shooter, though, because like sometimes a character is just broken, you know. And getting that data where it's like, okay, this guy's banned. Like there was a time period in League of Legends where Kassadin was banned, I think 99% of games. If like the odds of you playing Kassadin were actually lower than like the odds of you winning the lottery or something like that. Like the odds of you get Kassadin making it through, you being one of the first picks, you picking him and then nobody dodging the game was like literally higher than for the odds of you winning the lottery. It was so nuts. And it's just like you need bans for like that kind of reason. Imagine if Cassidy was that broken and he was just stomping on solo queue for like a month or something. Like that just ruins the game for people. Having a character that is that strong, it's just not fun to play against. I stopped playing Legends of Runeterra currently because I just keep getting destroyed by Hecarim decks. They're just not fun to play against. They're not. I don't know if like it's just my deck that's bad against it. That's entirely possible, but like just in my experience, having things like that, not good. Not good.
Pick and ban system for characters.
Makes sense, especially obviously you need characters to make that feasible.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
That might take a while.
Yeah, I don't think initially, but eventually.
Okay, now let's shift a little bit to HenryG, the caster, not HenryG, the pro player. Casting impressions as a guy that, and I'm not going to ask you if you're quitting Counter-Strike and you're going to, become a caster for this game, but like, put your caster hat on. How was it? How do you feel it'll be entertainment-wise as a viewer being casted? It is round-based, so we love that. Counter-Strike is so perfect in so many ways when it comes to broadcasting our game and telling the story between rounds. How did you feel as caster, Henry? Are there spectator tools, all those kind of things?
That is one thing.
These are good
didn't
questions.
Really get to see too much of. We were part of the very first ever playtest, so we just got to see 2 maps. One of which I will say did have 3 bomb sites. So that's an interesting discussion point in itself. There's A, B, and C, and there's also different ways to move around the map. So we were able to teleport from one side of the map to the other with a portal-like structure in the middle of the map, which is interesting though. You could only enter the portal one way, so if you went through the portal, you couldn't come back. It was kind of like a one-way sort of wormhole to the other side of the map. An interesting way to fake bomb sites and kind of suggest what you were doing. I would definitely say it's going to be a lot less. What's the best way of putting this? It's going to be a lot more chaotic than Counter-Strike. It's certainly not going to have the raw, nicely flowing storylines and basic gameplay. There's things like security cameras and drones that fly around. There's going to be a lot of confusing elements.
Something that I think Shroud brought this up, or somebody in Shroud's chat brought up. I think Shroud said the same thing. He's like, this is really confusing to watch. Like, you see all these abilities on screen and you don't really know what's going on. Where like in a game like Counter-Strike, it's like, okay, well, he threw a smoke grenade. Like, okay, it was a smoke grenade. Or like he got flashbanged. Or like he shot that guy and that's what happened, But another thing to keep in mind is how often do you watch esports for games that you don't play? I don't know if I'm in the minority or if like me and Shroud are both in the minority in this regard, but it's like I don't really watch esports for like Rainbow Six, and I don't really watch them for Counter-Strike really anymore. I don't really play Counter-Strike. Never really watched them for Dota. I watch League games sometimes, not frequently anymore, but like I play League, So it's like if I was going to watch an esport, it would probably be League, So it's just in that regard, does it really matter if it's hard to follow? Players who understand the game will understand what's going on, Players who have played the game. So I don't know if that's necessarily like a big deal, but honestly, I only watch Pro CS highlights. And do you play CS? Like, that's interesting. Like, it doesn't matter if it's appealing to a mass audience. Same thing with football. Like, a lot of people watch football and they don't really understand football, right? Yeah, I think people will familiarize themselves as they play everything exactly as you said. Well said. I appreciate it. I don't know if it's as relevant, if people can't really recognize it as much.
I think that's going to be
play all the time. Yeah.
Valorant from the esports point of view, that it might be a little bit too technical in terms of all the different things that can happen for it to be as powerful as Counter-Strike or as successful, I suppose.
Gotcha. And that leans into more of that Overwatch comparison too, right? Like it is harder to spectate. It's harder to understand all the things happening on your screen at that moment.
With it being round-based, though, it's easier for someone like me, at least, to build up kind of storylines and going, okay, the money's now broken going into this round. They're going to have to do this. We're going to be able to predict their play instead of being a perpetual 15-minute sort of ongoing round like Overwatch is. That's the kind of gameplay I don't like, because that leads itself towards, let's just build up the ultimates, everyone coming for a clusterfuck, and it's impossible to commentate this massive kind of clusterfuck that's happening on the middle of a bomb site.
I think that having that downtime, like he's saying right now, is really important for the casters to build up personality and like he said, build up storylines throughout the game. Where it's like watching StarCraft way back in the day, there was a lot of time at the beginning of the game where it was very standard. It's like, okay, well, he's building drones, he's building workers. And then, like, as the game progresses, it has those periods where it's really intense, and you can hear the announcers going, blah, 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 like there's like rap god memes and stuff, like people just like rapping when they're commentating games. But like having that downtime is so important. You don't want your game to be super fast paced all of the time. You want the breaks, and you want to be able to like give a second to breathe for the viewers and the commentators. He mentioned the map at 3 bomb sites when we saw the gameplay, but does that mean that there will be maps with 2 bomb sites? There is. So we have confirmed a map with 2 bomb sites, and it has teleporters. So you'll take a teleporter. It's a one-way. That's what he was talking about. The teleporters are not on the 3 bomb site map, as far as I know.
I feel like with round-based games, you avoid that, but it's certainly going to have its issues with all the little techs and gadgets and abilities, and it'll be quite jarring initially, I think, especially when we're defining how the game is played. And just to be clear, I will comment on this whole situation. It feels like everyone is assuming I'm some sort of Riot employee at this point. I'm not even a consultant. They just bring me out because they know I've been doing this shit for a long time, and I give them very honest feedback. And I'm very good friends with Volcano. Him and I sit down after the playtest, and we just discuss his ideas and his visions for the game, and we kind of just shoot the shit about it. And I think it's a very important game that's coming out, and it's not like I want to sabotage them. I think games that challenge Counter-Strike are a good thing. It encourages us to grow and evolve, and not to rest on our laurels. And Counter-Strike will always be my main game, but it's good to see other good games coming out as well. And I think that encourages us to be better.
And it's like you said, anything that maybe lights a little bit of fire under the Valve gangs.
Absolutely. That's why I was
that's good for
definitely being a dick with that last tweet I did, saying like this is the best games in CSGO. But I do stand by that. Like in terms of, I think games have sucked the last 10 years. Like I think the whole BR craze we went through was like the most agonizing period of esports ever. Like the fact we had to go through and watch PUBG try and set up hundreds of PCs at events, and same story with Fortnite. It's like,
that's so funny.
This isn't gonna work. It's not esports. Like it's a great game. It's cool. But why does everyone have to force feed this esports tag on top of it?
I respect the attempt. But like we are talking about Fortnite in chat too. Battle Royale as an esport just like objectively does not work. Being able to like track 100-player games and like figure out like what's going on is like so difficult. With Fortnite, they kind of make it work when like they have like everything going on. But like when you watch a Fortnite game, like you're just like admiring the fact that they're building so crazy and like what's going on. I have no idea what's going on in a Fortnite game half the time. I'm like, how do these players know that there's just like a dude underneath them? Like how do they possibly hear that? It's just confusing. Like there's so much going on where it's like it does like I don't know. It doesn't feel like it has like the same viewer potential as a game like Counter-Strike or as a game like League of Legends, or the 5v5, that you can build the team, the storylines around the teams and stuff like that. World Cup Fortnite did a good job following the storylines, to be honest, in the recent tournament DreamHack. I love as a marketing thing, when you saw Booga holding up the trophy, that is like such a massive thing for esports, like such a good image of just this 16-year-old kid or whatever holding up this trophy and winning $3 million, and they plastered that everywhere because like holy crap for esports, just showing that it's like a real thing.
And I don't know, it's the first game that's inspired me to feel like this is a game that could actually be something like Counter-Strike if they do it correctly, and I feel like they're actually listening.
Have a good night, Strozzy. I appreciate you stopping by and hanging out.
Which is something Valve doesn't really do. They don't communicate and listen to their figureheads, their communities. It's all very much whatever they say, that's what's going down.
Yeah, it's definitely the Valve way, or thanks for your input.
I've never had a one-on-one conversation with Valve since I started commentating. Like, I've been doing their majors, every single major since 2015.
Yeah,
and they've been in attendance. And it's like this is like how bad it is. Like I'm pretty sure they're aware who I am. But like when I walk past like a Valve employee in the hallway, walking to the stadium, they actually like to look down on the floor when I walk past. Like they don't even want to say hello to me. It's like, come on, man. Like I mean, they're the face of your game for like the last 6 years. Like is any way like just throw me a bone, at least like be like civil and say hello to me. Like why are we pretending we're not like on the same team? I don't get it. You know what?
You guys are the biggest.
Especially for somebody like HenryG is way bigger in like Counter-Strike than I ever was in like any other community. And it's like to be commentating literal tournaments and be ignored. That's like so messed up, right?
To get it out with that.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are the biggest cheerleaders for the game every weekend, generally, right? And not intentionally, but just by the nature of what you guys do.
The pro players and the streamers of your game are your like #1 fans, and to like ignore these people is absolutely nuts. Just to like take these people for granted. Like when a game like this comes along, I sometimes you just hope that this game kills Counter-Strike. They kind of deserve it in some regards. Yeah. But obviously, like you want the competition, like I said earlier, like it's good. But
that's always been weird with Valve, right? Which is it's unfortunate. But like you said, maybe this will kind of spark them a little bit. Let's shift to
Well, it is interesting that just one last word. It's interesting that they did drop like 2 or 3 updates since with those kind of tweets were made. It feels like there is a little bit of
Yes.
action brewing in the Valve camp since this is all kicked off. I will say that.
Yeah, and obviously we've got the agent skins and stuff, so they're in a new operation
Sure.
going. That's why our numbers are going up for those kind of reasons.
Sure.
But to your point, like that's kind of minor in comparison to what's coming as competition. They need to really think about the
Yes.
matchmaking stuff,
Indeed.
the whole ecosystem as well, right? So let's shift to Counter-Strike. If you
Yep.
don't mind, I know that you're again number one
don't mind at all.
Valorant caster, but if you don't mind talking about your old favorite game,
Exactly.
I'm
yeah,
gonna
let's do
get you in trouble with somebody today. I'm trying, Henry. So obviously you're just coming off of ESL.
Okay, I don't care about Counter-Strike. Unfortunately, we're just here for the Valorant stuff. Okay. HenryG seems really cool though. I've never like actually heard him talk. Aside from those tweets, that was a really good interview. It was really well conducted. So that was by DNPeek or Scott Smith, SirScoots. I think he goes by sometimes too. I think that's the name. SirScoots. If you want to check it out on YouTube too, I could probably link it here. Was that episode 7? What is this? That was episode 8. Okay, so that one's not uploaded yet, but no, that was really interesting. That was like earlier today, it looks like. So if you guys are looking for that, I'm gonna link his channel here in chat. You guys can check him out. Aside from that, no, that was good.